If ever there was an instant classic sports car, it was the 1961 E-Type Jaguar.
This sleek, bullet-shaped car, related closely to the famous record-breaking D-Type, is way out on its own. A new thoroughbred, descended from a long line of champions, it sets the pace for tomorrow.
But tomorrow was to be a disaster for Jaguar. With the rise of fast German sports saloon cars and poor workmanship at home, Jaguar's fortunes declined.
For dispatch. Now ready for its lucky owner, it will be delivered within a day or so.
Today's Jaguars have survived not as state-of-the-art Eurobox Autobahn burners, but according to design critic Jonathan Glancy, as collectible examples of Englishness.
If you were to wrap this up, I think when you uncovered it in 25 or 50 years' time, you would find one of the great all-time classics of English design. There's no way you can mistake this car for being a German car, an American car, a Japanese car. It has a very particular character. When Jaguar try sales clinics and they remove all the badges off the cars, there's no doubt in people's minds that's what it is. They don't have to say which is the Jaguar when they're looking at a mix of Japanese and German and American cars. Everybody says, well, oh, this is the Jaguar. Well, why do they say that? Because it has this very distinctive line that looks like no other car. So when you unwrapped it, you would say, look, first of all, the lovely surprise, a Jaguar. And more than that, an English car. And I think of machines like the Spitfire when I drive this car. I think of British railway locomotives, Gresley Pacifics, Stanier Pacifics, and so on. It has that kind of association of quality engineering. They were beautifully tamed with immense power. In other words, the lovely lines they had, these lovely curved lines, unadorned, simple, calm, hid the fact that they were quite brutish, powerful machines. And the Spitfire, terribly powerful machine of death, and that's not a very nice thing, but it looked poetic. A Gresley Pacific at the head of a railway train right up into the early 1960s. Again, poetry in motion. The same with the Jaguar. You have that poetry, and it's a very English poetry. It's a poetry of Wordsworth and Coleridge. It's not difficult German or Nordic or Japanese poetry. I think it's an English poetry in motion. German machines, for instance, have these very aerodynamic shapes, so they have very high backs. Back of the car comes right up, which gives it a cheese wedge or ski slope look. And that's actually very disturbing when you see these things on the road. They're bulky. German cars look like fast trucks. A Jaguar, on the other hand, is a very low, calm-looking car. It's discreet, and I think discretion is a very important thing. It's part of what we celebrate about our Englishness.
For product designer Sebastian Conran, the final version of this car became a classic the moment he saw it.
It was designed to win a class of rallying called Group B, which is sort of supercar rallying, really. But it ended because going 160 miles an hour through forests was really not on. The styling I find very interesting. It's very purposeful, I suppose, is the best way of describing it. I mean, the radiator here, which cools the compressed air that drives the turbo, and the outlet here, and it's very sort of frog-like animal looks. It's almost, if you look at it, you think of those sort of dung beetles in the desert or something like that. It has a scarab quality to it. It's also, I mean, if you want to fill it up with petrol at the petrol station, you've got to do this to get at the petrol cap down here. It has a great deal of presence as you'll stand there and fill up with petrol. It was styled at the time when the Sierra came out, which introduced new styling on the scene, and it was not popular because of its styling. It replaced the boxy Cortina. It has the Ford vernacular of styling. It sort of reminds on a bit of a James Bond fantasy car designed for going underwater and exploring the bottom of the ocean with. And these great bug eyes, it's very reminiscent of the styling of these subaquatic machinery. It's what the French would describe as joli laid, I suppose, sort of ugly beauty to it. I can't think of very many other cars which are designed to be racing cars, but yet are road legal and very drivable and perfectly user-friendly. And and comfortable. I mean, you can drive this car all day and get out and feel fine. I mean, and yet it's a racing car. When they did fly through the air, as they have to, they flew straight rather than sort of back up, and so they didn't land on their noses. They landed with all four wheels at the same time. And it is made out of plastic. And in 25 years' time, I mean, people will find making cars out of steel a bit of a joke. Usually one talks about classic cars as cars that have done particularly well in racing, or they've sold particularly well, or they were the most expensive car of their time. And I suppose this has sort of been stillborn, and, you know, it was drummed up to be the most wonderful car that was ever going to be, and there it was, but, you know, it was born redundant, like a lot of people are, I suppose.
The world motor industry produces about 35 million cars a year. Of these, a few 100,000 will survive, and of them, a handful might be kept as classics. This is a typical central London car park. Future classics lie scattered in the gloom, quietly rotting away. To save them means taking positive action, because, like us all, no matter how familiar or plentiful, cars die slowly, imperceptibly, until nothing remains but the memory.